today's amazing Mental Health for Millennials virtual event. My name is Megan Gallagher. I will be your host today. I am so grateful. And today we have an amazing panel of influencers, models, athletes, just truly incredible human beings who are doing their part in raising awareness, ending stigmas, and truly are light workers on this earth. And I am so excited to get started. Really quickly, before we jump into the conversation, I want to remind all of the guests here, you guys in the audience, as we are talking, write down your questions or any takeaways if you have pen and paper or on your iPhone, but please save your questions for the end. There will be 15 minutes for Q&A. You can ask anything. We will do our best to answer them, but like I said, please just hold off questions until the very end. We will have plenty of time to answer all of your burning questions. So I am going to go around and introduce all of our panelists so you guys can get to know them, and then we will jump into our conversation for today. So first we have Miss Allie Courtnall. Allie, if you could, yes.
Hi.
Allie is a former UCLA athlete. She is a mental health advocate and model. She uses her social media platform for spreading positivity and has been very vocal about her journey with mental health. So let's give it up for Allie.
Thanks, guys.
So excited to have you here, Allie. And then we have Miss Christy Valdesari.
Hi.
Christy is a Sports Illustrated swimsuit model, dancer, and self-love advocate. She is also the creator of the Baltourage, which is a positive online community dedicated to women of all ages who have lost their hair. Let's give it up for Christy, y'all.
Thanks, girl.
So amazing. And then we have Miss Tiffany Goldstein.
Hello, everyone.
So Tiffany is a TV host. She's a lifestyle blogger. She is a pop culture enthusiast and host of her own podcast, Talking at Tiffany's. She is an advocate for the latest wellness trends, and she is a huge role model for the next generation of TV hosts. So let's give it up for Tiffany. Amazing. And then we have Mr. Billy Garrison Jr.
What's going on, everyone?
So happy to have you here, Billy. So Billy is the founder of the Young Aspirers University. He is a life coach and host of the Young Aspirers podcast. And he has dedicated his life to helping young men erase stigmas surrounding following their dreams and being vulnerable. So let's give it up for Billy.
Thanks, Megan. Appreciate it.
Of course, so grateful to have you here, Billy. And then we have Miss Molly Payton.
Sorry.
Oh my gosh, amazing. So Molly is a model. She's a self-love advocate and a lifestyle influencer. She is such a powerful presence in today's society. Her posts on social media are not just real, but they're also so authentic. And she is truly the next big leader for the new generation. So let's give it up for Molly. So amazing. And last, but certainly not least, we have Mr. Timmy the Dreamer, AKA Timmy Bishop.
What's up, guys and girls?
So excited to have you here, Timmy. So Timmy is a content creator, videographer, and host of the Dreamology podcast. He is currently on tour going across the country in the Dream Machine. It's such an incredible thing. Everyone go check it out, please. So they basically are on an awesome mission to inspire others to chase their dreams. And he uses his social media platform. Really, he's just so open and honest about following your passions and the quest for greatness. So let's give it up for Timmy. So exciting. So everyone, I mean, let's get this thing started. I am so excited to just have these amazing conversations. So I would love to start this conversation off. And I am just going to ask a question and we can go down the line and everyone will give their, honest answer. And feel free to include as much as you want or to just answer whatever is on your heart and whatever is currently going on in your life, I think is just the best answer. So I would love to start this panel off by talking about mental health specifically. And obviously, this past year has been extremely challenging for us all. We've had to adjust in so many ways. And as someone who has had her own experiences with anxiety, I think this time is not only triggering, but it also has allowed me to really look inward and to really pause and think, who am I? Am I really happy? And the number one thing, am I taking care of myself in the best way possible? So, Billy, I would love to start off with you. What, in general, besides COVID, what have your personal experiences with mental health? What have they been like in your life?
Yeah, absolutely. What's going on, everybody? So my personal experience with mental health, it really all started by not knowing what it was and not knowing it was even a thing. And it began with real panic attacks and really started with homesickness. I was homesick quite a lot when I was younger. And so that developed into claustrophobia, developed into panic attacks, getting taken out on wheelchairs in school. And those of you who have experienced anxiety understand that when you don't know what it is, it can almost feel like you're dying at the time when you're experiencing those panic attacks. Your body's shaking, you can't breathe. And the more you think about it, the more it heightens. And so when I was younger, that's how it panned out. It was a lot of anxiety, a lot of panic attacks, a lot of then therapy, but for something I didn't even know what it was. I didn't know what it was called. I didn't know why I had it. I thought I was just weird. And then it developed into, as I've gotten older, this journey of being a young man in a community and in a society where it's tough as a young man when your external presence comes across as extremely positive, energetic, optimistic, confident, but internally there's a lot of doubt, a lot of negativity, and a lot of anxiety. And so that was where my journey started, and my journey's still going. It's never ending. But the current experiences are trying to integrate the inner critic in my head and the shadow that sometimes pops in, and also helping a lot of young men understand that it is okay to be able to allow your true vulnerabilities and feelings to come out. And in fact, I'm a big believer in your story being your superpower. And so I encourage a lot of young men to share what they've gone through and share what they're experiencing so that they can start to talk, get help, and understand that there are a lot of people that experience the same things. So
I love that. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Miss Molly.
I definitely think that, mental health has been something that's always been talked about, especially in my family. And I had my first panic attack when I was 17, and I remember it like it was yesterday, very vividly. And that's the one thing about anxiety, is that it carries with you in a way. And so I can remember the exact feeling of what I was feeling in every panic attack that I've had. And I think at that time, my parents were very like, this isn't normal. Like, you probably need to talk to somebody. And I ignored it for a long time. And then I ended up moving away. And just like Billy said, being really homesick doesn't help any situation. And so when the pandemic happened, it was a huge blessing in disguise for me, because I got to come home and I got to kind of really think about the things that were going on. And I got to start seeing a therapist that really helped me through a lot of those tough conversations that I needed to have with myself at the end of the day. And I think as young people, we just constantly are ignoring and trying to shove down and pretend that we're normal, because that's what society tells us to be. So yeah, I definitely want all young women and men to feel that conversation is a very normal conversation, and everybody has their low moments, and that it should be talked about more often.
Yeah, that's So true. And I resonate with what you said, Molly. For me, I had my first panic attack when I was 17 too. And I remember just at that young of an age, I literally had no idea. I thought I was having a heart attack. I was like sitting in my high school English class and I'm like, oh, can I go to the bathroom? And I just grabbed the hall pass, pieced out, ran out. And I literally was like, I am going to like die in my high school. Like it's so scary, but you're so right because there are so many real life experiences like homesickness or a breakup, or you're just in life. We're always going through things, and there's just so many things that can make it a lot more difficult. But I really resonate with what you said.
Yeah, mine was at like a literal football game. I mean, like I was vice president of the Spirit Club way back then, and I was like front row, and there was just like crazy, like it was a crowd, so I was like very claustrophobic, and I ended up feeling homesick when I was 10 minutes away from home, and so that was the first time I had ever just truly panicked, and I actually ended up my friends walked me to my car, calmed me down, and I left. So yeah,
Wow.
definitely not fun, but yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Timmy, would you like to share your take?
Would love to, Megan. Yeah, I mean, I resonate with Billy a lot. I think that a lot of my anxiety in my life came from me living like out of alignment of the path that I was supposed to follow. Because I grew up and I had a great childhood, honestly. Like I have a great family. I had a great, just environment I grew up in, great schooling, went to a good college, University of Wisconsin. But my dad was a very suit and tie sort of man. And I am like the opposite of suit and tie sort of guy. But I was just kind of like doing what I always felt like I was supposed to do. I was like, okay, I check this box, get the internship, do this. And everything was good until I got close to that graduation point, until I got close to like, okay, now this whole system that's laid in place for me is done. And what ended up happening is, I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Inside Out before, but I relate to the main character of Inside Out so much, where I was just like, and still am, this super happy dude. And so anytime something went wrong in my life, break up, everyone's like, you'll be good. Like, you're Timmy, you're fine, you'll figure it out. And so I kind of just pushed all these things to the side, like subconsciously, not really realizing that I wasn't letting any of the other emotions in. And so I had this chance to go live in Thailand for 6 months. And when I got back from Thailand was that first, moment of, I remember it so vividly because I was coming home, I was about to graduate college. I was dating a girl who lived in Canada. It was super complicated. I was doing this job that was like selling like clothing online, which just wasn't aligned with what I wanted to do at the time. And I went back to like my home in Minnesota and I sat down and I remember putting my suitcase on my bed and it was just like whole body froze. And I just started crying. I had no idea what was going on. I was like, why am I crying? Why can't I move my body? Like, what's going on here? And that started my like anxiety journey. And it to this day, like, that feeling is still kind of with me. And I lived with that emotion on a very severe level for about 4 or 5 months. And it wasn't until like 5 months later that I clicked that it was this fact that, I was dating this girl I wasn't supposed to be dating. I was doing this job I wasn't supposed to be doing. I was feeling the pressure, from everyone to continue on this path of going into like, a finance job, a marketing job, work for this big corporation. And I wanted to just go run off willy-nilly and like chase my dreams. And so the day I call it is the day I signed a lifetime contract with my dreams. Because I wrote down in my journal, I said, I'm not going to apply to any more jobs. It was an interesting conversation with my dad. He was like, excuse me? I was like, I'm not applying to any more jobs. And I'm going to figure out like my health, my happiness, and like what my dream life is before anything else. Like happiness is going to come before any success, any achievement, anything that I do. And so the last 2 years for me has been like that journey of like all inward, all figuring out like my own happiness, my own version of success, what that means to me, and starting to like build the blocks of my life around that. And really like I got a mindfulness coach, like learning that all these emotions is part of the human experience, all these sadness, anxiety, fear, like we have this expectation that happiness is like an emotion that we're just supposed to always feel. But like the human body wasn't designed for that. We were designed to feel all this stuff. And so once I started to learn that like anxiety is actually my best friend, it's actually telling me what I'm supposed to do more, where I'm supposed to go, like I need to sleep more, I need to do this, I need to go here, I need to call my mom. I started to really understand that, oh, like this is actually a tool to live a life in a better way. And I feel it every single day still. And it's like this little voice that speaks to me when my chest will tighten up or my stomach will tighten up. And I'll be like, okay, like I got to just take some deep breaths and realize like, what do I got to do? What do I got to work on? And it's been a journey, but again, it's like Billy said, the more I talk about it, again, I realize that being a really happy person and loving your life doesn't mean you don't feel this stuff. And the more I've talked about it with people like Billy and even like people in my, like back in Madison, the fraternity, like guys who you wouldn't think would want to talk about this stuff, every single human being on planet Earth feels this same stuff. So the more you talk about it, the more you connect with people, the more like you feel closer to the world because you realize we're all feeling the same emotions every single day. And so it doesn't make you any less of a great human being. And so my journey now is, one, similar to Billy, just always talk about the struggle, but then two, just like in my own life, always stay in touch with that anxiety and just really try to love it and nurture it and not let it just control your life and stop you from chasing your dreams and living the life that you want to live. So it's been a really crazy journey, but I'm really grateful to be able to be here and, be with you guys talking about this today and just to be able to learn from you all today too. So I'm super grateful to be here.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Timmy, for sharing that. And everything you said, I really resonated with the feeling of being out of alignment. And I think you can have those seasons in your life where you are in the wrong relationship or the wrong job, or you are constantly every day, you just think to yourself, something feels off and you're trying to pin it and you're like, but I'm doing everything right. I went to college, I got the degree, I am eating the healthy meals, or like this person, but you're like, no, but your heart, it's like your gut is like, hello, girl, inner alarm system. Like, no, but I think in those moments, we have to realize, wait, I know what's best for me. It's maybe not my parents. It's not my, all these people. It's not all those opinions. And it's also something that they don't teach us in school is how to listen to that gut feeling that really knows that inner compass of like, oh, maybe I should trust that.
Yeah. My inner head always says, come on, girl, just like yours every morning. But it's interesting. So like my podcast, the Dreamology podcast, like the first thing I did with that was like studying the dream life. And I looked up the definition of the American dream because it's sold to us as like this singular concept. It's this societal thing that everyone strives for. When I looked up the definition, like the literal definition of the American dream says like each person has the opportunity to obtain their own version of success. And so step number one for me was defining that for myself. And that's when I was able to start to find that alignment and start to really have my life always be guided towards, what is my version of success? Like, I don't want to be a Tim who wears a business suit to meetings, who does what all these people are telling me I should do, be more professional. Like, I want to wear local Optimist shirts and a hat and laugh and smile and, be this kid always. Like, and so once I started to define that for myself, it was a lot easier to again, just be able to set a path that I really wanted to follow. So.
I love that. That's amazing. Tiffany, I want to hear your take on mental health.
Okay, so mental health has always played such a significant role in my life. And unfortunately, for a reason that is way too common nowadays, in elementary school, I've became a victim of bullying. And believe it or not, it definitely has shaped me into the person I am today. So that's good, I guess, right? From an early age, I became so obsessive with the way I looked because I was so insecure in my own skin. And I think that's when, my anxiety definitely kicked in and I started to overthink.
Yeah.
I struggled with body image to the point where I would stay up late or, wake up super duper early in the morning to pick out my outfits for school. And, it would take away from studying or family time. And to be honest, this is probably the reason why my kids one day will go to private school because then they have no other choice than to wear a uniform because it took so much out of me and it made me so insecure. But because of this experience, I grew up being so in my head and I always worried about what other people think. And till this day, I still overthink like crazy. I sweat the small things, especially since COVID hit, it became worse. So to be honest with you guys, it was when I went to college when I started to feel more confident in my skin. And I think it's because, um, you know, my mental health improved because I went 14 hours away from home. And I wasn't surrounded by the toxic people I grew up with. And I'm not talking about my family, but the ones, my friends who would compare me to, you know, the skinny girls in school, because my body image played such a big role growing up, or the ones who would leave me out, or the ones who made me cry and run home and not want to do anything else other than to try and impress others, which is terrible. But I think I've realized now that I didn't have to go 14 hours away. I just needed to remove myself from those toxic people, right? I needed to remove myself mentally, not physically. And it's crazy that, I'm 25 years old and I've realized that now. And it's simple, just remove yourself. We don't need that toxic energy, especially now in 2021. So, yeah, that's my mental health story.
Oh my gosh. I love that, Tiffany. And I've been bullied too. And it's a terrible feeling, especially when you're young. I was bullied in middle school and I remember it like it was yesterday. Like sometimes if I drive by a middle school, I get like sweaty palms. Like I like grip the steering wheel and I'm like, because I can feel it. It's such a real thing.
And it sounds silly, but it really does stick with you because
Yeah.
those are your development years, right? So I don't know. I mean, I'm still insecure. I mean, if you ask my family, I still spend hours picking out my outfit because I'm worried about what other people would think of me. And it's crazy that I'm a social media influencer, right? I'm putting my life out there for everyone to see. But I think that actually helped me gain confidence, because I accepted that I have to stop thinking about everybody else and start thinking about myself and start doing things that make me happy. And yeah, just we all need to remove these toxic people in our lives. If you're trying to, especially your friends, if you're a good friend to someone, right, and they're not returning that good friendship back, we don't need that. Find people who respect you and, respect your morals and values, really. People who can lift you up.
Yeah.
Down.
Yes. We all need those cheerleaders in our life. I agree with that.
Absolutely.
That's so true. Christy.
Hey guys, first off, shout out to all of you who have already spoken. Like I'm sitting here like I'm nervous to speak. So like the fact that we're all here being vulnerable enough to speak on this stuff means a lot to me. I would say I first felt anxiety and all these negative emotions my senior year of college. I was in a really toxic relationship and I was extremely anxious, and then that led to me losing all of my hair. So on top of having all these inner emotions, I then had to figure out my life with a whole physical change. I lost my hair to alopecia, which there's no cause, there's no explanation, there's no cure, there's no fix, there's no anything about it. It's just kind of happens, and then you have to figure out how to live with it. So yeah, I would say I went through so much in the beginning of my hair loss journey, so much anxiety, so much self-doubt because of, like Tiffany was saying, the people I was surrounded by, my boyfriend at the time. And I removed myself from that. I booked a job, a dance job on a cruise ship for 8 months. And it was the best moment of my life. And then I was fired because I stood out because of my hair loss, it felt like. So then, like, after being knocked down with my hair starting to fall out and then going through a breakup, I lost my favorite job at the time. And then within 3 weeks, my hair was completely gone. So when I was on the ship, on the gig, it was falling out. And then 3 weeks after being fired, I had no hair. I was completely bald. And I'm like 23 years old. Like, what the hell is going on? Like, how can all three of these things be crumbling in front of me? Right. So I like gratefully had my parents' place to go back to. And then I kind of like you were saying, Tiffany, you moved 14 hours away. I was like, I have to get out of here. And I moved from Philly to LA, Los Angeles, and was restarted. I glued a wig on. And I was this blonde, I was trying to hold on to the blonde girl that I was all through college and high school. And it was slowly ruining me, destroying me. Like Billy and Timmy were saying, you guys, how people perceive you and then like how you really feel. That's what it was for me. Everyone was perceiving me as this bubbly, happy, have it all blonde girl, just going about life. And then I would come home and take my wig off and be beside myself, miserable, sad, crying myself to sleep, like dealing with all these like open, raw emotions alone. And then the thing that mostly helped my mental health and my anxiety was ripping the Band-Aid off, taking the power back and sharing my story and being like, screw you, beauty standards. I'm not blonde. I'm actually completely hairless, and I'm going to own this and rock this and embrace this. And I feel so strongly about your inner beauty your beauty is who you are on the inside and not what you look like. And I'm just on this mission to normalize different looks because I work with so many little girls and they look everywhere they see people with hair and there's bald pranks that are like going around right now. And I just feel really strongly about normalizing people being bald, and because it's so common, but there's so much shame around it, which I'm sure a lot of people can, whether you have hair loss or not, everybody has insecurities, and you have a lot of shame that we carry with ourselves. And we feel like we have to live up to something or be something or fit a perfect box, and like, F all that, do what you want, find what makes you happy. And I'm so grateful to be here, guys. And I appreciate hearing from the other people on the panel where you guys are all at. Cause I don't think any of you have hair loss, but I can hear your emotions and relate to that. So it feels good to know that there's other people out there with these crazy ass insecurities as well.
Love it,
Yeah.
Christy.
Yes, Christy. Okay, that is amazing. And seriously, like, you inspire me on a daily basis, Christy. If anyone watching is not following her on Instagram already, please do so. Like, your videos, literally, if I'm feeling funky or something, I'm like, oh my gosh, no, my mood just got better. I feel elevated.
Thanks. That makes me happy to hear. And that's what I'm saying. If we can be vulnerable, like we can really potentially change someone else's life, and we might not even know it. Like, vulnerability is truly strength.
Love it.
It is. There is such strength. And honestly, I think we all can relate to this as people who have a following on social media. Sometimes you post something without second guessing it. It's just your daily whatever. And then we may not really realize like the ripple effect and how it can really affect other people. And it can really help someone else find confidence. And I'm sure we've all had moments where people DM you or comment or see you in person and they're like, wait, your post inspired me to leave that toxic relationship, to go follow my dreams, to just start loving my body. And those moments, I think, are the most priceless things in life, because just helping other people, it's like the biggest gift that you can ever give. Yeah. It's so powerful. Miss Allie, I want to hear your story.
I guess my mental health journey started, I mean, honestly, at a really young age. Ever since I could remember, I was always really in tune with my emotions, but I didn't know how to fully, I guess, I don't know, not like control them, but I didn't know like how to handle them. And I remember sitting in my room at a young age and like listening to really sad music and just, kind of isolating myself from people. And looking back now, I can be like, okay, I was depressed. I was not in a good mental space. But at that time, I just thought that I was in a mood or whatever. But I mean, my family, we lost a family member to suicide. And I can remember at the age of 10, like going to these charity events that my dad and my uncles put together to raise money for mental health and creating like a mental health hospital on the island that I grew up on in Canada, because there wasn't a place to get help. So I was very fortunate to come to a family that was able to have conversations about mental health and have that be talked about. I guess I just didn't think that I was dealing with it because, like Timmy said, I came from a family where I was really loved in an environment that was like very stable. Like if you look at my life, you just wouldn't be like, oh, this person deals with it. But as time has gone on, I've realized no matter how fortunate you are, it doesn't matter. Like you deal with mental health, you have things that you go through, you have your struggles, you lack confidence. And, and for me being an athlete, I mean, I shared this with the group, like you look to others for that reassurance and for that confidence. And at some point you have to look within yourself and you really have to, take that time to take care of yourself, give yourself that love. And through this pandemic, I've realized that I don't take enough time for myself in the day to like do my affirmations and, share, like do my gratitude journal and things. And those really do make a difference for my happiness and my health and life. I feel like therapy too is another thing that I try to encourage people to do as well, even when things aren't going well. I mean, my fiance is a professional athlete, and he has this whole world of things that he experiences and does as well. And we both have said that it's something that you should do no matter if you are at the height of your career and doing really well, or if you're struggling, because I feel like there's always something to be talked about and you might not even know it until you really get into that room in that safe zone and you start expressing like, oh, wow, I guess I really didn't know internally that I was dealing with these emotions. So I'm really glad to be here and have these conversations with you guys and, just talk about these things, normalize it, and, let people know that it's okay to not be okay and it's okay to have a bad day. And, I think toxic positivity has become the topic of conversation lately. That's definitely a thing. And, we shouldn't suppress anything. Like we shouldn't just be like, oh no, it's okay. Like, good vibes only. Like, no, you can have bad vibes. Like you can have a bad day. It's okay. Embrace that. But how do we move forward to get back to a place where we're feeling good about ourselves? So, yeah.
Oh my gosh. I mean, Allie, what you just said is so true because I agree. I think in today's culture, in today's society, it is so true. It's like the toxic positivity where it's like every day is like, but like that is amazing. And like kudos to those people who just genuinely have that spirit. And, I think we all do our best to get to that place every day with the affirmations, with self-care and meditation and exercise. I mean, who doesn't want to feel good? But I think also, it's imagining like a tea kettle, about to burst. It's like, you don't want to hold it all in and you're just, I'm fine. Everything's fine. It's like, allow yourself to feel whatever you need to feel, but then, be productive about it, or just to not guilt yourself for how you've navigated COVID or a breakup or a loss. It's like, my mom used to say this to me growing up, however you are feeling right now is perfect. Don't overthink it. There's no right or wrong way to feel. It's just however you are feeling, it's like you're still alive. You have a pulse, you have a breath, you're fine. So I think that's just something that's so powerful,
Yeah, and I think people forget, like, sometimes that, social media is just such a small part of everyone's lives, but also this last year, I feel like even with everything going on, a lot of people are still not being like, man, I'm going through some shit right now. Like, I don't feel good. Or they're even in my industry, people are like, I'm working every week, I'm busy, I'm booked, I'm doing this. And I'm like, I'm not. And that's okay. Like, it's okay to share with people that you aren't as busy, or maybe you're like in between jobs, or your relationship's not perfect. Like, I just want everyone to feel more comfortable sharing their vulnerability and what they're going through. And, going to our social media, how refreshing would that be if people actually shared how they were really feeling? And I mean, I don't want it to turn into something like depressing, of course. Like, it's great to share the positives, but I love that everybody talks about how they share what they're going through as well, because it really does stay with people and it really does help someone get through their day.
Yeah.
Ali, I think that's so powerful. And all of you have said things that I have wanted to chime in on in different regards. I think we all can relate, and everybody listening can also relate to almost everything that's being said. But one thing that stuck out for me, Ali, that you just said was this feel, and Timmy said it as well, I believe, this feeling of you haven't grown up in an environment that really looks from the outside as if you've struggled, right? You've had things that have been set out for you. You've been given the opportunity to travel and explore and all of these things. And then you develop this feeling of what gives me the right to feel the way I feel right now. And that almost heightens it in many ways. And so one of the biggest things that hit there, Ali, was talking about that. Like, if you have X amount of followers on social media, or if you're a professional athlete, or if you've grown up in a family that was wealthy and rich and allowed you to travel, like, that doesn't mean that you don't now have a right to experience and feel and live and have emotions. Like Timmy said, we all go through these different waves. And so validating that it is okay, regardless of social, economic, current circumstances, to feel the way you do, I think is one of the biggest things that I took out of that. So
yeah,
that's a great point. And I think this is something we all on the panel can relate to, but also to everyone in the audience. I think one of the worst feelings in the world is thinking you're the only person who's experiencing whatever you are going through, whether it is anxiety, depression, OCD, bipolar, or just anything. You're grieving the loss of a loved one, or just you're a normal, millennial, just going through the normal millennial things. I personally, I turned 25 last year, and turning 25, something about that number, it seems so real. And since turning 25, I've had anxiety, and it's just every single day, I constantly wake up with this fear of, oh my gosh, I'm not married, I'm still single, I'm still this. And it's just this revolving, merry-go-round ride. And I'm like, girl, like, I have to be my own therapist. I'm like, but you have to focus on what is working out in your life. And you can't think, oh no, I'm doing it wrong because I don't have these things. Or I go on Facebook and see, my classmates from high school 8 years ago are having like 4 kids. And I'm like, wait, what? But then, a part of, I will just think to myself, yes, but you know what? The comparison cycle never ends. So those people that I could be comparing myself to, thinking, oh, they have that, sense of stability and security that I'm craving. Well, what if they look at my pictures and are thinking, wow, Megan's, crushing it. Like, you never really know. So I think it's important for us all to remember, we may or may not, I definitely do this. I consciously compare myself when I'm scrolling. I notice I'm like, oh, that person, oh, that person. It's so unfair to ourselves to try to figure out or to try to jump to conclusions if we've never even met them in real life, or we don't know what their real life is like, because I think that's where the toxic side of social media comes from. It's truly from when we compare ourselves, and then we make all of these assumptions and think all of these things. And then maybe we meet that influencer or whomever in real life, and we think, oh my gosh, I had it all wrong. Or they are maybe, similar, or they're totally different, or, shame on me for forgetting that they're all people, we're all human beings. It's just a profile. But yeah.
Megan, I love that. I wanted to say something about that comparison piece too, because on this tour, I've been very blessed to have met a bunch of celebrities. I mean, people that we would look at as like they figured out life, like they know what they're doing, like they're killing it. And every single one you meet, you're like, I don't think they know more than me. Like I'm not sure they figured it out. Like maybe they know how to make money, or maybe they know how to make a lot of followers, or they look good, or they figured this thing out. But as a whole, like nobody has like this secret key that they unlocked this box that gave them this magical gem that they like powered up and just figured out life. And so when I realized that, I was like, I mean, even people lower on the scale too, like as you're starting the journey and you're like, oh, that person. And then every time I met them, I'm like, again, oh, they were looking at me like that. Like, oh no, Timmy, he's got that. And I'm like, no, I was looking at you. And then you just realize like nobody has it figured out. And to me, that gives me the ultimate freedom of like, okay, if nobody gets it, then like, that's cool. I can not get it. I can be here and just like not have all the answers. And I can like see someone and instantly when I'm like jealous, I can go, wait a second, nope. Like there's probably something going on there. Or like for me too, like that comparison is sometimes like an urge of like, well, I should reach out. Because maybe I see like when I met Billy, I was like, he's very, like I felt like a braveness to him. And I was like, I want to learn about that. I want that braveness. So let me reach out. Let me meet him. Let me talk to him. Let's become friends, you know? And like, so turning that like comparison into like collaboration, because most people that we're comparing ourselves to, we probably maybe aspire to be like in a certain way, or it's all a big image. But either way, like when you meet those people, and that saying, don't meet your heroes because it's going to like burst your bubble, is like a good thing, because it's just rehumanizing everybody and putting us all back on the same playing field. And then it allows you to have that confidence of like, oh, well, if that flawed, imperfect human being could chase their dreams and make them come true, then me as a flawed, imperfect human being can probably also do the same. And I don't have to put that pressure on myself to like be perfect.
It's wow. Yeah, I mean, everything you just said, it's like, it's so true though, because I think like I sometimes forget this and then I kind of have a light bulb moment and I'm like, wait, I'm really forgetting that my, you know, heroes and idols, like the people I look up to and just dream of having a career like, or, you know, I'm like, wait, but they are human beings too. And number one, you know, before I start comparing my personal life, my career, my this, my that, my apartment, my, you know, pause and think, is this really going to help me reach my goals? Me comparing myself, or is that a form of self-sabotage, you know, negative thinking? And just to chime off of what you said, Timmy, I think it's so powerful because when I was a teenager, I had this light bulb moment. When I was younger, besides having anxiety, I also used to have this form of thinking. I call it horizon living, where I kept on telling myself, I'll be happy once I lose 5 pounds. You know, I'll be happy once I have a boyfriend. I will be happy once it's Friday. Once I have done this, done that. And it's like my happiness was kept on getting pushed. And I realized it was actually making me depressed because I never was allowing myself to like flip on the light switch. And I'm like, wait, feelings are a choice. Like I could choose to be happy right now. Why do I have to keep on pushing it away? Like, oh no, it's just this crazy. Yeah. I'm like, wait, no. I want to be happy right now because that's just this weird, you know, thing. But I really resonated with what you said.
I actually I was reading this book, Super Attractor, and she talked about how like we should learn how to be happy on our journey. Like we're always looking to find that happiness at the destination, and when we get to the destination, it only lasts for a short period of time because we're already looking to get to that next destination. But she was just like, we need to learn how to find those happy moments and those wins and celebrate them along the way to where we want to go. What you were saying is like, I was like that too. Like with sports, with modeling, it's like, oh, once I get this, I'll feel good. Or once I'm here, I'll feel good. And it's just like, you never truly find that happiness because you're not learning how to enjoy what you have in the moment. And on the way to where you want to go.
And I also think other people validate that feeling so much and almost make you feel like you have to, or you get to put off your happiness, because especially as someone who's young, you often hear people say, oh, you're so young, you've got time, or be patient, you got a lot of time, like almost pushing off your happiness to whenever you're older. And a lot of the people that I speak to, it's like, your life's happening now. Like, this isn't going to start in 3 years. This isn't going to start again. Like, in 3 years, you're going to be thinking the same thing that you were when you're 18, and now you're 22 years old. And it's like, you're still being told you're young, but you spent the last 4 years waiting for your happiness to come and for all of these things to come, because I'm young. And so when I make a little bit more money, I'll be able to travel, or I'll be able to experience, or all of these things. And it's like, your life's going on now. You aren't going to step through another door and then all of a sudden find that you're an adult and you have all these things, and happiness just comes, you know. It's going on right now. Explore it. And Timmy's a prime example of that, you know.
But I think that's like the adult lesson in life that you learn pretty quickly, especially now with social media, where it's like no one has their shit together. Like my whole group of friends, like, excuse my language, but like back home, I was on my phone with my mom the other day. I feel a lot better now that I'm back in Los Angeles, because back home, like, all of my friends, they have kids and husbands, or they're living with their significant other, and I always felt like they're in this whole other realm.
Right.
Until like mid-pandemic, I was having coffee with like two of my best friends that have husbands and kids, and they were so bitter. I mean, like, they're very happy with their lives, but they've got their own stuff. Like, you know, their husbands leave their boxers on the floor, or just like weird things like that. Like, they have just as nitpicky things. Or like, when I first moved to LA, I remember thinking in my head, if I just become friends with her, she's got this massive agent or this massive following, and like, she's a good connection, and she seems like she's so genuine and down to earth, and look at all this money she's made, and look at her apartment. And like, you meet these people and they're like dead broke, or in extreme debt, or they like hate life, like they've got their own stuff. And it's social media. It makes you want to promote only the good things sometimes. But even like Allie's been saying this whole time, like, other models are booked and busy, but it's like, oh, well, I'm not. And that's okay too, because it's my own journey. And like, I'm really happy for you, but there's no reason to put others down because you were successful at that point. And I think that's where social media comparison comes in, is like, sometimes even though you don't think you're doing it, sometimes you are subconsciously putting others down because you're the successor in a situation. So
yeah, that's so powerful. Oh my gosh, I would love to ask you all, so since we're talking about social media, I mean, obviously we all have Instagram accounts, we all have Facebook, we do it all. And obviously, you know, we want to keep it as positive as we can, but I think we've all encountered trolls and haters and whatever other nickname you have for them, they're there. And I would love to hear everyone's take, and whether you have tips for dealing with haters or internet trolls, or how you kind of just bounce back, you know, from it. And I would love to start with Billy. Just how do you handle any negativity online? Like, what's your tip for just not letting it get to you and kind of, you know,
I think this is a really great question, and one that I'm extremely excited to dive into, because I'll be honest, at first I didn't deal with them. I didn't know how to, and I wasn't prepared for it. TikTok has become a big part of my journey, as much as the podcast and Instagram stuff have. And so I started amassing millions of views and getting followers up the yin yang on TikTok. And with that, as you know, comes a lot of negativity. And in particular for me, because I was doing things that I just wanted to do, but I didn't know that I was going to get the backlash that I started getting. And so I'll be honest, at first I didn't. And what I found, and the biggest thing I can say, is it's not about trying to deal with them. I don't see it as being about trying to deal with them, right? It's becoming so content and happy within yourself and comfortable that there could be 9 people who disagree, or 9 people who are going to tell you you're the worst person in the world, or you're a weirdo, or you're feminine or weak, or all of these things. But there's one person who's sitting there going, wow, that piece of content really hit me, because I want to learn from this guy, and I want to know more. And I really feel inspired to want to learn from him. And so that became my message and my mantra moving forward for social media, that I'm not posting this for the haters. And if somebody comes at me and says something because of that, I've now learned very strongly to look at them with empathy and love, because they've got a lot of things probably going on themselves that is causing them to want to bring me down in that regard. And so if I could give two things, it would be, first and foremost, become content within yourself, that what you're doing has a bigger purpose and that you're influencing lives in the way that you are. And the second thing would be understand that a lot of these people who are sat behind a screen are in a lot worse off place themselves than you are. And so it's not about really looking at yourself in a bad light, but feeling sorry for them in many ways for the things that they're going through. And sometimes I've attempted to reach out, and a couple of times I've actually built relationships with these people and turned it around, and it's been a great conversation, because in reality they're struggling, and there's a very fine line between envy and jealousy, and so sometimes it's just jealousy, and that's okay as well. So
that's so true. Allie, I would love to get your kind of take on this, on how you deal with negativity online or just internet trolls. I'd love to hear your opinion.
I think I'm just going to be very honest. It really just depends on what day you catch me on, because some day I have lots of time for these people, and some days I'm just like, kill them with kindness, or just block, or just delete. I mean, it really just depends. But what I've really learned is the best response to people that are coming at you with negative comments and anger and hate and all of that is when you give them nothing but love and kindness back. They honestly just don't know what to do with themselves, because a lot of the time I feel like they're lacking that kind of love in their life, or they're not giving that to themselves. So when someone else is approaching them like their hatred response with kindness, like usually they flip their tune really quickly, and then we're able to like have a conversation, or sometimes they get even angrier because they just don't know what to do with that. But I mean, it really depends on what day you catch me on. Sometimes I take it really personal and I get upset, and I'm like, why does this person feel this way about me? Or they just come to this crazy conclusion about my life, or have these expectations from me. And I'm a person at the end of the day. Like, I can only do so much. Like I have to give to myself and the people I love in my life. But now I feel like I need to give to all these strangers that I don't necessarily know. Like, why do they feel entitled to like tell me what opinions about me and stuff? And I think that's the hardest part about social media, is just, trying to brush that off. But like we said, sometimes you just have to feel what you're feeling, and it's okay to let that impact you, but to what extent? Or, I'm going to take it in that moment. I'm going to be okay, this actually does hurt my feelings, but then I'm like, I'm not going to let this ruin my day. I'm going to move forward with my day. I'm going to give them love and the energy that they should get. And then I can keep moving forward with my day, knowing that's all I could give them in that moment.
Right. Wow. That is so true. And I love what you said, Allie, because I think whether it's a DM or a comment, I tend to not engage with them, but I think there is such a simple way where you can flip it around, or, maybe just, I don't know. I think either they could be going through a hard time in their life, or it's misinterpreted. I think there's a lot of things, but I think number one is just, what you said. It's just really, depending on like how you're feeling that day, because you're still a person and you don't have to feel like you have to give a robotic answer. Like, thank you so much. Leave a message after the beep.
Exactly. Sometimes I'm like, F you, like you're an asshole and I'm going to block you. And then sometimes I'm like, honey, like I'm just going to give you all the love in the world today. I'm sending you nothing but love. It really just depends on where I'm at. And I'm not going to lie. Like I don't always give people the greatest response. And then I look back and I delete it, because thank God for that delete button in the DMs now, where you can take back sometimes what you said. Cause I'm like, okay, now that I'm in a better mental space, and I know that I shouldn't have responded with like anger, because they don't deserve my anger. They don't deserve that at all. But I mean, it really just depends. Like we're humans at the end of the day. Like when these people come at us, I feel like they think that we have like people responding for us sometimes or something, but no, it's me. I'm the one reading it, and I don't always handle myself correctly, but I do try to respond with love, or just the block button. That's the greatest thing. You don't have to engage with those people. They don't need to follow you. If I really bother you that much, then don't follow me, or I'll do it for you and I'll block you, so you don't even have to.
Oh my gosh, that's so true. Christy, I want to hear your opinion on this.
Yeah, so it's interesting because it happens like on social media, but also I have unique experiences in person because I have a difference. And people are just not educated. Right. So it's in person, it's more just like looks or stares or assumptions that something's wrong or I'm sick. And, but a lot of the time it is like people will actually, if they're going to be staring, I would rather than be like, wow, I love your look, or why are you bald? What is alopecia? Like, just so I can educate them. But on social media, one time I was teaching on a workout class on Sports Illustrated's Instagram. I'm wearing like a tiny outfit, like doing the whole thing. And like all these comments are coming in about my head and why I'm bald. And I didn't see because I was so focused on doing my thing. But a lot of my friends were in the group, and just like so many people, all these like random ass accounts just coming at me. And like, she has veins on her head and just like tearing my look apart. And I'm like, I'm wearing like no clothes. Like, that's what you're noticing. Like, buddy, like my head is like half out of the screen. Like, why are you putting your energy into that? And my friend, I didn't see it, but my friends told me after. And for a second it got to me. And then I remind myself that I'm like, you weren't there when my hair was falling out and when I was going through an extremely hard time, and you don't know my story. Like, you get to pop in for 2 minutes in a live and see my look and make a comment. Like, I just believe that like confidence overrules everything. So if you can own your look or your situation or who you are, like even in person, if I walk into a bar with my head held high, like no one's going to ask why I'm bald. They're going to read my confidence way more than they're going to notice, right? Then they're going to notice my look or my head. But on social media, I truly try to just like read it and I don't even look at it again. I don't even think twice. Or I'll tell some of my best friends, and they're in their DMs going absolutely ham at these people. But I personally am like, I just know, like you have no idea what I'm going through, and I have no idea what you're going through. So if that's how you're going to act and comment on my thing, that's not how I act. But if that's how you act, I'm not going to give you the time of day. And I'm not going to allow myself to go into a downward spiral about my hair loss and all of that because of some rando on social media that knows nothing about me. So because it's such a sensitive thing, because it's my look and it's out there, I don't let my emotions get wrapped up in them. And because like they're sitting behind a thing doing whatever, like you mean nothing to me. You mean nothing to me.
Yeah. And honestly, Christy, you should flip around, because first of all, you are stunning. And like, I mean, you should flip around and think, well, kind sir, your comment, are you on Sports Illustrated dancing around and do you have this body? No, I don't think so. So you can kindly exit the building.
It's so true. Like, let's see you be, when you're 23, lose all your hair, be in the entertainment industry and be a woman. Like, you please try to do it.
Like, are you serious? You're not, like, do you have these skills? No. Are you at home? Like, stop, get out of here.
Megan, next time I'm pulling you in, I'll let you say it for me.
Girl, you know I will be there in 5 seconds.
She's there for me. Love it.
But seriously, I agree. I think, it's like people want to hate on you, but I often think it's like, we, all of us talented young people, are just mirrors, you know, for these people who are so miserable, so unhappy. They see, you know, young, successful, driven, motivated hustlers who are just like crushing it. And they're like, oh my gosh, this girl is she's triggering me so much because she's doing exactly what I wish I had the courage to do. But then, you know, of course it comes across in like a negative way. But I think it's just, anytime, you know, you receive hate, I think it's just you are triggering something in them, and they are jealous, or they wish that they could be as awesome and talent, because it's the truth, you know? It's like, yeah.
You're right. What a good way to think of it. Like, we putting ourselves out there, we are in turn being mirrors to these people, and they're
yes
seeing a part of themselves in us that they aren't happy with or whatever. And we have to take it.
I think it's so true. I think the biggest trigger in life is when you know, never followed your own passions, or you never had the courage to. But if you think about it, we all are living proof that you can be young, successful, and follow your passions. And I think for a lot of people, that is such a trigger of, oh my gosh, you know, maybe I'm older in my life, or I settled down and I never took that chance. But I think that's a big thing. Miss Molly, I want to hear your opinion all about social media. Have you ever had any experience with like negative internet trolls?
The funny thing is, I think the negative people are probably people that I have been close to. It's never been like a random person. I feel like sometimes we get more hate from the people that we think we love.
Wow.
But I think like I've had some extended family members that I no longer talk to, because it's always a very judgmental place, because they think, oh, well, we're family, you know, like those are constantly things that are talked about. And it's one of those things that's like, oh, it's so good. But I think the best part is that, you know, I learned a few years ago that family is definitely not blood. It's the people that genuinely are there to support you. And so, but I think for them, you know, you just got to cut them off. You have to like have that discipline of saying, you know what, no more. I'm setting a boundary. And I've said, this is not okay for you to say, for you to do, for you to act. Like, it's immature, it's irresponsible. And you're supposed to be, you know, my fun person in my family that I get to see on Christmas. And like, now you've become somebody that I never talk to. And so I think, and that's where like I now have nieces and nephews and you know, very, very young people. And I'm like, I cannot wait till they're older and I can just love on them compassionately and never show any negativity towards them, because it really does affect you, and it really does carry with you for forever. So
that's so true. And I heard Billy's comment too, and I think we all can relate to this. I actually recently have had a lot of experiences where maybe it's not leaving mean comments on my Instagram, but I've had, you know, family members, and it's so uncomfortable. And it's something that is not really talked about a lot. But I fully relate to that, Molly.
Yeah. Well, and it's always like, oh, well, we've changed your diapers and we don't approve. And it's like, well, I don't care what you approve of, because it's just none of your business.
I think oftentimes they feel like they have chains over you in certain ways because of the things they've done or what they've done for you or bought you or all of these things. And so that's why I love this topic, because there's that, and there's also the other end of the spectrum where I think genuinely a lot of times they don't know that they're causing you pain. And so one of the biggest things I had to do with the people in my life was, rather than cut them off directly, I had to sit a lot of them down and have honest conversations about, you know, I know you don't know, but I'm going to make sure that you now know. And so if you want to change this, then you can change it, and we'll strengthen this relationship. But if you don't, that's okay. And I'm going to let you know that I'm going to distance myself. But I think rather, like, what I used to think was, oh, I'll just distance, but it was still there. The tug was still there, and the energy was still there, and the vibes were still there. And as soon as I realized that I have to address this in some form, it's painful at first, and it's hard, and it's scary, especially with the people who have done a lot for you and that love you a lot, and that aren't doing things to intentionally cause harm. But it really does strengthen that relationship with the ones who want it, and the ones who don't, then I don't really look at that as a bad thing. I just think, okay, that's our time is up, and that's okay as well, you know. So
That is so true.
That's so good. Oh, Megan, can I say something real quick?
Yeah, of course.
That, like, to me, that relates so much because, like, for me, I feel like a lot of it was fear of what are my friends and family going to say as I start to do this posting and stuff. Because I had, you know, been to Madison, I was in a fraternity, I had like all these guys who were great friends, but the person I wanted to be, the dreamer, like, it's not exactly what they knew me for. And so as I started to create this, who I wanted to be in the world, and Christy, like, I love like just everything about you. Like, my ex-girlfriend actually had cancer twice, and she had a buzz cut, and right away I like loved her because I was like, this chick is confident in her skin. And like, that was my journey too, was becoming confident in that. And there's so many like hardships that I think people go through when trying to be that person they want to be. And for me, it was like, okay, my dad, some of my best friends. And it wasn't like I didn't want to cut these people out of my life. Like, it wasn't like I want to say, see you, Dad, like, I'm never going to talk to you ever again. And so, like Billy said, it was that genuine sit down of saying, hey, here's what I'm doing. Here's what I'm going through. I experienced enough on my own. What I need from you as my dad is put up your little foam finger and say, you got it, son. I don't care if I fail. If you're worried about me failing, I don't care. If you're worried about like something going wrong, I'm going to figure it out. What I need from you as a father, as a best friend, is to just support me and just love me and just like be there for me. And if you don't want to do that, then like, let's take a step back. I'll do my thing. And then if you want to re-enter into my life in a more serious way, then we can continue. And for most of these people that were really important to me, they were like, I had no idea. Like, I was projecting my own. And then they'll say something like, yeah, you know, actually, like, I always kind of wanted to like start a business or do this. And then you're like, okay, like, again, it was their insecurities or their fear. It's really like their insecurities, or they just care about you so much and they want to like keep this control over you.
Right.
But when they let that go and you're able to just be that person and you're supported and loved by those people around you, for me, it's made it so much easier to be like, I can go out into the world and be whoever I want to be because I know my people got my back. And so for me, it hasn't ever been much about the strangers and the fear of what strangers say, because I know just like us, they're going through something, but it's been about those people closest to me, because I love people and I hate it when people close to me, like we don't have this connection. And so learning how to have those conversations with friends and family is really what made me like more comfortable in becoming this person and not getting judgment from my inner circle.
Wow.
Amen. Amen.
Wow. Yeah.
Mm.
You like hit the ball out of the park to me, because I can say firsthand for me, and I think we all have experienced those moments where it's either our success or something, we just feel that it's, you know, our fault, or that we're doing something of why this person from the past doesn't talk to us. But I think that's so true. It's not caring about what strangers and random internet trolls, you know, that it's like, you don't know me. So our brain can automatically put that into a category of, you know, doesn't matter. But when it's our mom, our dad, our siblings, cousin, it hits a different part, and it stays with you. And I've had those moments where for days, sometimes I will fixate and think, oh my gosh, what did I do wrong? It's my post. I will get literally like social media anxiety of, oh my gosh, what if I post this and what if it triggers my cousin who lives, you know, in New York or something?
I think that's really cool. I think in the comparison that we said about celebrities before, I think this relates a lot, because we often look to family as perfection at times, and elders and other people as perfection. And someone told me once, they said, I asked them about that. I said, what happens when the family are the ones that are causing you pain at times? And he said, they're people too. And they're going through their own things as well. And then he said to me, I said, but like Timmy said, I don't want to leave them. You know, I don't want to leave them because they have done a lot and I do love them and they have had a massive impact on my life. And he said, I want to make something clear. You aren't leaving them. You're leaving where they are. And if you start to stand in your light and embody the person that you want to become, eventually they'll stick their thumb out, someone will pick them up and they'll meet you where you are.
Yeah,
So
that is so true. Tiffany, I want to hear your take and experience with internet trolls or anything you've ever encountered online.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first off, well said, Billy. I completely agree with you. And just like all of you, I get very insecure when I go ahead and I post not for the strangers, because the strangers don't bother me, because it sounds mean, but at the end of the day, they don't mean anything to me. If you want to be supportive, great. But if you don't, hit that block button, unfollow me. I don't care. But what makes me nervous is finding out afterwards that my photos or, my stories are in someone else's DMs, but those DMs are some of my best friends. And that's what bothers me, because I am sick of being a cheerleader for everybody else. And I think that's all of us. I think we are all so supportive. And I'm just like craving that back from my friends. I want, if we're going to be the cheerleaders for them, I would hope that they can reciprocate that back, right? And what really bothers me, like I said, I block them, I defriend all of the people who really put hate stuff on my posts. I don't get it too often, but what really upsets me is seeing the hate speech all over TikTok and Instagram. But I think everyone needs to be super mindful. And if you see a comment, don't just leave it and move on. Report it, report them, hit that report button, because if you just walk away, we're all adding to that problem of hate speech and cyberbullying. Right. And I think I started to do that more often just because social media has been so messy lately.
Yes.
And, we all need to, gain that confidence to really just tackle the issues with our friends and family. Like if they're bothering us, we just need to open up and tell them that it's bothering us. Hey, why did you send that message in that group chat? Or why did you screenshot it? Blah, blah, blah. But what we all need to do, and if we want to spread positivity and really change social media and, hate speech and the culture we are living in today, we need to do something about it. And that's unfortunately reporting all of the bad comments.
That's so true.
That's my perspective on trolls and hate speech on social media.
Yeah, I think that's just so accurate. And I think we all kind of had similar answers where it's number one, not really strangers or random people. It's the family, the friends, the people from our high school, the people we're like, oh my gosh, we see their name and it just pit in the stomach and we get a flash of, that memory with them and it's awkward. And we're like, oh, they knew who I used to be, or I've changed so much. And I think that is such a real thing. Okay, this conversation, I know we could all talk for hours. It's been amazing. It's so just enriching and this is so amazing. I would love to open it up to all of the audience. You guys are amazing. I want to know, what are your questions for everyone here? Questions for Tiffany, for Billy, for Christy, for Timmy. Any questions about mental health, self-care? We got a question, yes, from Blaze. And you can type your question in the chat room.
I'm happy to speak it.
Yeah, hi.
I first of all just want to say thank you to everyone. This is really just important to hear. I'm 20, and just to hear all of you kind of talk about being in a similar position that I'm in is just really impactful. So I appreciate it. My question is really for whoever feels like they can give the best insight. A lot of you talked about hitting a point in your mental health journey where you didn't really understand what was happening. It just started hitting you, just emotions and feelings. And for me, that's kind of the point that I'm at personally, where all of a sudden I've never been someone who's really struggled with mental health. And all of a sudden I feel really anxious or I feel really depressed and I have no idea why, because my life is good. It's, seemingly from the outside is good. And I was just curious how you all recommend navigating this journey when it first starts to hit. And if you have any insight on feeling, disconnected from yourself, or when that disconnection really like initially hits, what to do from there.
Anyone
I think I can maybe answer this a little bit, because I was recently in the same position where during the pandemic, I grew up having anxiety and I was self-conscious, but during the pandemic, it was bad. Like my mental health was so bad. And I was like, but like I have a supportive family and like supportive friends, but then it kept building up and then I didn't know who to turn to. So I think honestly, there's this thing called Talkspace, which I joined and I highly recommend. It's, you can do it remotely, and, going to therapy is fun. It's normal. Let's make it the new normal. It's cool to go to therapy, right? Like, hell yeah. So I think that's one thing you can do, but don't let it bottled up inside of you. Maybe you can journal or find a friend or a family member that you trust. Let it out, but definitely don't let it bottle up inside. Or do something in the day that's just for you. That might help too. So, but definitely recommend Talkspace.
Yes.
I
was
love
also going to say, when I experienced that, like, there's no, like, you were like, you don't know why. So sometimes there's no like concrete answer as to why you're feeling anxious. Like sometimes you can't actually put your hand on like, what the hell, why am I feeling this way today? And so I think not trying to always figure it out, and just kind of like acknowledge it and be like, maybe today is going to be not my best day, but I'm going to stand up again tomorrow and try to make the best of it. And I tell this to a lot of people who in my hair loss world, like when things seem sad or bad or not going the way you want, or for me, like when I was losing my hair, try to write down the stuff that you do have and the stuff that you are grateful for, because even though it feels like all these emotions and these things are going wrong and you can't figure it out and you're anxious and all of that, all the negativity, like take a second, like Tiffany was saying, and journal it, or think about the stuff that you are grateful for, because that always helps, at least personally, my perspective on how I could go down such a dark road sometimes when I'm feeling that way. But if I can remember, like, wait, I do have this, I am grateful for this, I think that kind of evens out, can help even out the weighted machine that I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blaze, I first and foremost, I hope I pronounced your name right, and I think that's a very cool name. But I have a couple of things for you that have really hit for me, that have worked massively in my journey. And you said something there about not knowing why you feel the way you feel. And what I can say is I understand that makes it harder to tell somebody, because you don't have an explanation. If you go to them and they say, okay, well, why? Well, I don't know. And I want to make it clear to you that it's okay that you don't know why. And it's okay to tell somebody and go to somebody and say, listen, I'm feeling this way and I don't know why. And I don't want you to try and tell me why or give me a reason why. I would just like you to listen and to maybe share if you've gone through the same things, because what you'll realize is when you start to share, a lot of people have experienced those same things at one time or another. And so that's the first thing. And the second thing I really have for you is this understanding that you are not your thoughts. Mm-hmm. Your thoughts are very much geared to sabotage you, and they're very much geared to take control of you. And so one of the biggest things that I've had to do for myself is I personified this critic as somebody that is not me. I gave him a name and everything. His name's Arturo, and he's the version of me that shows up that isn't me, that is attempting to take me out of my light. And I'm sure you know that, like you said, you haven't had these experiences before, you haven't felt this before, and this inner critic is popping up, and it's very quiet right now, but then it starts to grow if you give it a chance to grow. And what I could recommend is understanding that there is a distinction between who you are in your light and who Blaze is and who you want to be, right? And this person you embody, and this voice that is popping up and continuously coming in to try and take over that, and being able to separate the two and sit above your thoughts and observe them and understand that, this isn't me in this moment. This is for me, Arturo, and I want you to disappear because you're taking away from my light. And so those are really the two things I have for you.
Yes. Those are so powerful. Blaze, does that kind of answer?
Yeah, that helped a lot. Thank you all.
Amazing. Thank you, Blaze, for asking that. That's such a good question. Does anyone else have any questions about mental health, self-care, social media, any other questions? We have something in the chat room from, please correct me if I'm not pronouncing your name right, Katerina. She is saying, just want to say thanks to the panelists. It is so helpful to see you are not the only one having such issues. It really resonated, and thank you, which is amazing.
Thank you.
But if anyone else has any questions, please feel free, leave it in the chat room or come on video so we can see your gorgeous face. But yeah, once again, I mean, this event is so powerful, and I feel like this conversation is like just the beginning of so many, more amazing just opportunities just to open up and to share.
I've loved it, Megan. Massive thank you for setting it up, and yeah, like you said, this is hopefully the first of more of these. So I've really enjoyed it.
Of course. Thank you all so much. Before everyone leaves, Kelly, who is the host with Unplugged Meditation Studio, she has some exciting news to share for all of the attendees about a free 30-day trial. Yes, Kelly, take it away.
Yes, hello. Thank you guys all so much for hosting this, for joining, for listening, and participating in this incredible conversation. It's been such an honor to listen in, definitely a highlight of my day today. And we just wanted to offer to everybody on this call and anyone who signed up, not only will we definitely be sending you the recording after this, but we will also be offering a free 30 days on the Unplugged Meditation mobile app. So you guys can add meditation into your daily self-care routine and just sort of assist in your own mental health journey. And all the instructions for that will be included with email with the recording of the event today.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Kelly. And thank you truly, everyone. Thank you, Christy. Thank you, Billy. Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you, Timmy. Allie and Molly had to hop off this call early, but I am so grateful for this conversation. Thank you all for being here. And you guys are such rock stars. And everyone, let's continue this conversation. It does not end here. So wherever you are in your life, tag us all in your content. We want to see your posts, and you can use hashtag mental health for millennials. Like, let's keep the dialogue going. And this is, just the beginning. Yay.
Loved it.
Yay. Thank you all so much. I hope you have an amazing weekend. Stay safe, you guys, and sending good vibes to everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. That was so awesome.
Oh, I'm going to stop recording. Hold on.
I know. Oh my gosh. That was so